Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations to all you brothers out there on the highways and byways, teaching this truth and sincerity. Today's date is Thursday, November 2nd, 7:07 p.m. in the evening. My name is the brother Yawadon, GMS Colorado. And I put together a real quick sit down here. I'm sure there's plenty of videos covering this, but I did want to make one, that coincides with that. I've been hearing about this and wanted to kind of bring this out and tie this into scripture. So here we go. It says, the Antifa apocalypse, and this is the Washington Post. The Antifa apocalypse is coming this weekend if you believe the hype. For anyone logging time on the far right corners of the internet, this coming Saturday is not just another autumn weekend, but the potential start date of an apocalyptic shutdown. InfoWars has warned Antifa plans civil war to overthrow the government. The John Birch Society put 2 recent videos warning Americans to stay home and tell your children to do likewise on Saturday. YouTuber a Glock fanboy notched more than 400,400 views for a clip raising the alarm about the first day of the revolution or whatnot. He says in quotes, "Honestly, I'm happy," the YouTuber told his followers. Quote, "Dude, we've been on the verge of a great war for what seems like forever, and I'm just ready to get it going," end quote. And that's spiritual, because this place we live in America, and really all the systems across the world, are going to fail in our lifetimes, in this generation, whether that's sooner or later. The scriptures speak of Babylon the Great, a great solicitator of lies and democracy, a worldwide power. The scriptures talk about America, spiritually, just like the Israelites, being the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, been in captivity in virtually every nation. Every nation has kept the Israelites in captivity. Well, here it is. We are in the last captivity, being America. We're in a mental slavery and a physical slavery as well. It's not quite chattel like it was, in the 1800s and so on and before that. But they do have us in a social economic slavery. We have to basically pay taxes to feed this system. Esau system. Esau, Edom being the so-called white man. And it doesn't stop there. There are people that do have lack of melanin that could be Israelites, and vice versa. There could be, somebody that would appear to be an African American or a Latino or a Native American and actually be of another nation. That's simply because, as a father, you are who you are through your father. If your father goes back to a particular nation from the beginning, then that's who you'll be. That seed is passed on from generation to generation. But anyways, this is what's going on right now. We're the Israelites, and we're in captivity in America and around the world. And right now we have this Antifa thing that's supposed to happen on Saturday, November 4th. That could very well start martial law in America. Also have that EMP attack that could happen, where the government actually detonates an EMP that knocks out the power grid nationally or even in certain areas. All that type of stuff is happening for a reason. We have all this, government massing troops and ammunition and creating FEMA policies and things like that for a reason. We're about to see a large worldwide war, be it that with the other nations. America fighting Russia and China. We have China leaving the petrodollar system soon. They're going to have their own yuan-backed petrodollar. I shouldn't call it a dollar, but petro currency. And up until now, basically the U.S. petrodollar bill has been the founding currency that the rest of the world has traded, oil in. and pretty much everything under that. So we do have quite a bit of things that are going down and that are really going to change the economic structure in America and really going to change the life of people that live in America and people that live around the world. So I'm going to jump into some scriptures here. I want to get 2nd Esdras 15 first. And we'll start at verse number 5. It says, "Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, the famine, death, and destruction." And if you believe in the Bible, you know that the Apocrypha was taken out by the Bible Destruction Group. You know, we have the King James Version and many other versions, but the true prophecy is in the King James Version. That includes the Apocrypha. Okay, so if you believe in the Lord and you believe in who the world calls God, then you would have to believe this prophecy because it is written. I'll read it again. It says, "Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, and death and destruction." So that's something that's going to be brought upon the world, thus saith God. "For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled." So, and that's something that we see now. I mean, we can really go into a huge rabbit hole of why the world we live in today would be considered wicked, but in the sake of time, I would just ask that you check other videos out that are going into that topic, be it, you know, checking out why the Israelites are in captivity right now, looking at the law, statutes, and commandments that we are supposed to follow as Hebrew Israelites by blood. And basically, if those laws are not followed, then we see a lot of the things that we see in the world today, notably, you know, transgenderism and homosexuality, bestiality. We see an unlawful judicial system. You know, it's unfair judicial system. We have the oppression of the poor, highly oppressive of the poor in America. The rich, you know, they constantly get richer, and the poor, they get poorer, and it's all set up for that. You know, they have this consumerism mentality that's been developed in America that has people kind of sidetracked and not really aware of what's going on right in their own backyards, but around the world as well. And for that, because of mainly the Israelites' disobedience, the Lord is going to bring death and destruction to not only America, but the entire world for that matter. It says, "Therefore saith the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit, neither will I suffer them in those things, in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually." And you know, that's also getting into the millions of Israelites, blood Israelites, that were slain in the name of creating America. And we look at, you know, chattel slavery and the transatlantic slave trade, the genocide of the true Latinos that were here, the true natives that were here. You know, things that, you know, in America we kind of just sweep under the rug, and worldwide, you know, people. There was no recompense for that. You know, they gave the so-called Jewish that are in the land of Israel now all kinds of money and opportunity for their false Holocaust, but they didn't repay the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans any type of, you know, there's a word for it. It's not retribution, but reparations. There it is, reparations. And that's actually a word. You can look that up, and that gets into repaying somebody or people or a person that you've done wrong. You know, and that's what the Lord's saying when he says, "The innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me," because the other nations, you know, mainly Esau, Edom, who would be as a base point the so-called white man or the Caucasian race, they have done great and evil things towards the Israelite people. You know, and you can look around and see the roles of the Israelites being Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and see where I'm going with that. Why I say that they're not treated fairly. We aren't treated fairly. in America. We've never been treated fairly in other countries as well. And that's because we're in slavery right now. But the Lord, He's observed that. He's observed all that throughout all of history. And for that, that's why the world is going to be shooken up. And that's going to start potentially with this Antifa thing, man. And that's really where I'm going with this. I'm not trying to get too long-winded into it, but this EMP attack in Antifa could be that instance in which the Lord actually starts this mass death and this judgment that's going to come upon the earth. It says, and therefore saith the Lord, I will surely avenge them and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them. And that's self-explanatory, like I just mentioned. There's millions, if not billions, of Israelites that have died in vain due to the so-called white man and due to these other nations and the wickedness and devices that they've set up to put their race above the actual Israelites, who are the kings of the earth. It says, behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. And along with this Antifa situation and this EMP, when martial law happens, there's going to be that massive death and destruction. Well, the Israelites, 1/3 of the Israelites are going to be saved. Whether that's through death or whether that's through actual salvation through biblical chariots, which are instruments of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, what the world would call UFOs. They're actually going to save 1/3 of the nation of Israel, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as the strangers that don't look like those races, but are indeed Israelites by blood. Let's see, I want to go down to 15. It says, or we'll start at 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. So death and destruction to this world, and that's basically symbolized in verse 15. Essentially, the nations are going to have a huge war. And we did just read in that article, that gentleman, that's the spirit that he said that. He said, dude, we've been on the verge of a great war for what seems like forever, and I'm just ready to get it going. And these people in the world, they have that spirit on them. The Lord is pouring out that spirit for war. The point for this Antifa video that I'm making right now is verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. Now, this Antifa deal, just like Black Lives Matter, funded by George Soros and the elite, the Amalekian so-called Jews, the Jewish, the Jew-like, the ones that are in Israel right now, the false Jews. Basically, they could be funding Antifa, and they could be, funding this whole thing. The likelihood of that is high, but the point is that there is a large division in America. America is a large melting pot, and a lot of other countries in the world have a large, amount of different types of people in their countries. So there's a lot of different people that think different ways, and they have different views on certain things. And basically that sedition breaks down to, they're going to rise up against their governments. They're going to rise up against the hierarchy and the power structure that they're in. And I'm going to speak for America because that's where I am. But this is going to happen in Europe and all around the world. This is just a spiritual prophecy that the Lord said would happen in the times that we're in right now. That's something this Antifa situation is prophecy towards, man. Because if this does happen, then there will be sedition amongst men. And that'll be yet another prophecy that will be fulfilled. I'll grab Ecclesiastes 12:3. Bear with me a moment while we grab that. Stupid typo. I said ECC for a reason. There we go. So it says, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble. I'm sorry. Let's see, 12:3. Yeah, sorry. Ecclesiastes 12:3. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease, because they are few, and those that look out the windows be darkened. And that's the situation that we could very well be in once this Antifa thing comes and passes. If it does start a civil unrest in America, bringing martial law, that's not going to, there's not going to be any more work anymore. Well, currently I work as a mechanic, so I won't be going to work anymore. Or whatever your profession is, or what you do daily, you won't be doing that anymore. That's what that symbolizes. It says, in the day that the keepers of the house shall tremble, because people aren't really going to know what they're going to do with themselves now that there's no more opportunity to go to a grocery store and rely on Esau's system, America's system, with 911 and all the assurities that this place has, to keep everybody docile. If this Antifa situation kicks off and pandemic happens, there won't be any more working. It says, and the strong men shall bow themselves. Well, a lot of these men out here that aren't behind Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, the true God and his son, then they're going to be shook, man. They're going to be really scared. Even the men of the Lord, we're going to be scared, because there's really no telling what our lot is until it actually comes about. But the rest of these people in America and around the world that are fixated on the world, they're really going to be scared when martial law happens. People are gonna lose their minds, and people have been devoting so much time in their life to America and saving money and trying to live the American dream, or so it's called, that they're going to literally have they're gonna freaking lose it, man. They're gonna snap. That's gonna add more fire to the melting pot. You're gonna have the military out here in the streets trying to bring order back to the streets. You're gonna have people out there with guns, American citizens out there with guns, trying to enforce what they believe to be their right to possess a firearm. And then on the same side, you're gonna have the government trying to take firearms from people and bring in mass gun control. This is all prophecy. All this chaos is prophecy, man. This is what the Bible talks about. It says, and the doors shall be shut in the streets. So in ancient times, it would have been a market, and there would be no more stalls. There would be no more sweet music and happy days when you can go down to the market and purchase at free will. It says the doors shall be shut. So there will be no more working. There will be no more regular American life. It says, when the sound of the grinding is low. And the grinding is this American system. It just keeps going, man. I mean, it's a beast. You wake up and you pay taxes and you do it all over again. And it's quite literally set up that way on purpose. It says, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters, of music shall be brought low. And that's what I mean. There's not going to be rejoicing anymore. Because right now in America, people are focused on the next movie that's going to come out, or the holidays, or what they call holidays. They're wicked days. The real holy days are in the Bible, but everybody's focused on these distractions. Professional sports, working. Some people obsess on their profession. Some people obsess in their family. The real point of this is that there's not going to be any more of that once this event happens. Could very well happen on November 4th. So it says, also when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fear shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, and desires shall fail, because man goeth to his long home, and the mourners go about the streets. And basically, that mourning is going to be in the streets of America. All right? I mean, there's going to be a lot of fear and death. We're going to watch pretty much everybody we've ever known and loved die because of this martial law in these end times that we're in now. They're going to bring the RFID microchip and try and implement that as a currency system. You know, there's a lot of things that go with this, but I'm really trying to hit on the Antifa thing, man. Because once that happens, if they do declare martial law, you're going to see this happen overnight, or what seems like overnight. And it's just going to be accelerated from then. There's not going to be really any time for anybody to prepare. There's not going to be any time for anybody to do anything about it except fall in their lot, man. So I'm going to grab quickly Mark 3 and 25, and then I'll end it here in a minute. I didn't want this to be too long. Let's see, 3 and 25. And this is Yahushua speaking, saying, Mark 3 and 25, and if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but hath an end. And spiritually, the demon Satan is working with the so-called Caucasians, the so-called white people on earth. Now, like I said, I say so-called because they're truly Edomites. Satan is working through the Edomite nation to invoke his rule on earth right now and bring about the mass wickedness that we have on earth right now. Well, the point being, if these Antifa rebels do start mass shooting and killing people on November 4th, then that just shows you a sign of the times that we're in, the end times that we're in, because Satan is divided against himself. And you can't be divided against yourself, otherwise you'll fall into a pit. You'll fall into like the scriptures say, if the blind lead the blind, then they shall both fall into a ditch. And that's basically what's going to happen. I mean, this system is set up on equality and all that, and everybody working together. Well, right now we have everybody split up against each other. They're pushing gun control and fueling these race wars. They're you know, bringing up fake organizations like Black Lives Matter and bringing out these Confederate, you know, groups, these like the Georgia 3%ers, like small militias. I mean, there's so many different instances of this country being divided against itself. The Most High said that you can't be divided against yourself, otherwise you will fall. And that's what we're going to see here, whether that happens on the 4th of November or in our lifetimes, because it will happen in our lifetime. The last scripture I'll get is in Revelation, the 18th chapter, and we'll end it there. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. And what that means is a cage is because there's going to be martial law, man. There's going to be no free travel. There's going to be a limitation on when you can be outside, when you can eat, you know, how you are going to provide food for yourself. They're going to lock these streets down. There's going to be no escape. There's going to be no flying out of the country or any of that. It says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Now, spiritually, that female that this scripture is talking about is America, being Babylon the Great. She's known as a whore. The reason that America is symbolically a whore is because they developed democracy. And democracy has been something that's been spread amongst all the nations. And I know democracy predates America, being with monarchies and things like that. But the point is, America is that final and last wicked nation, that huge Sodom and Gomorrah that the scriptures talk about. It says all the merchants have fornicated with her. All the kings of the earth have fornicated with her. Well, you look at the economic system and how the nations trade with America, whether that's food or gold or resources. There's massive economic worldwide trading going on right now, and that started with America. They started in Wall Street, and then they've, you know, throughout America's existence, developed an intense trading system and network throughout the world. So all the nations have taken on to the same customs in some way or another, like America. That's why you'll see McDonald's in other countries and things like that. Other countries have presidents or a system or a school system or things that resemble things that are, you know, started in America or founded in America, really. And it says, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. And that's not talking about literally coming out of America. It's a double-fold scripture. It's going to be salvation of the Israelites. That's the Lord saying, come here, my children, being the Israelites. I'm going to take you from America before the nuclear bombs drop and all this martial law happening. I'm going to take you from America so that you don't have to be in the destruction that the Lord's going to bring to America and the world. Also saying, come out of her, being don't be the same as these idiots out here in America. You know, we're all going to sin. That's something that we can't escape in this wicked flesh. But the point is, we got to try our best to be separate from the system. At least know that we aren't for America. That we were never supposed to be a part of this system. And that if you believe in the scriptures and you believe in Yahweh Shem Yahushai, that basically we have no part in this system. We need to wait for the kingdom. We need to wait for Yahushai to basically rebuild the kingdom in righteousness so that we can have the lives that we've actually wanted, that we dream about. It says, For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities, being the genocide, being all the things, evil things that America has done to attain its power that it currently has. Like I was saying, killing millions and millions of people just to obtain the rights to this land. And then creating the system off the backs of the Negroes and all the other slaves that built this country for free. The Lord didn't forget that, you know, and he's a just spirit. He's going to repay back the same and double to these nations, starting with the so-called white man and the white race, for what they've done to his children. And there's no way around that. It says, Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled to her double. It's only righteous, as the scriptures say. It's a righteous thing to recompense those that trouble you. The Most High is a vengeant and righteous entity, man. He knows what's happened to his children. He knows that we fell off due to disobedience, but he's going to pay back this system in America and all these people in it, including myself and everyone else, for what we've done in our past lives. These other nations are going to pay for the slavery and the genocide that they've killed or they've done to the Israelites. They're not just going to get away with that. It says, How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow and shall see no sorrow. And the scriptures are often symbolically written, and it takes wisdom to a certain degree to interpret them and place them like a puzzle piece into where they, in what context they're trying to be, conveying. And that, like I was saying, the woman is America. Americans don't think that this place will ever fall. Just like Rome. It's the same thing as Rome. It says, I sit a queen and am no widow and shall see no sorrow. And that's pretty much every American's mind state. Really, everybody in the world. They don't think that martial law or mass chaos or blood up to the horse's bridle is something that's going to happen in our lifetimes. People scoff at that. They just continue to live their pointless lives, man. It says, Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord Yahweh who judgeth her. And there it is, man. We could really continue in this whole chapter, but I just want to stop it there because it's reaching a little long there. Basically, man, if this does happen on November 4th, there's going to be a lot that happens right after that, and it's going to get much worse really quickly. So if you aren't in the truth and you're watching this, I urge you to check out all the other brothers at GMS, the main camp in New York, GMS, Dallas, GMS, you know, all the camps, man. You could just pretty much type in GMS and find a lot of knowledgeable brothers that'll fill you in and bring you up to speed. But prepare, man. And to those brothers that are in the truth that are watching this, salutations to you, brothers, and Yahweh Ratazah, man. With that, all praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the other apostles. Shalom.